Drones, deportation, and civil war. Hello everyone, I'm Bob the Orc, and today we will discuss some unpleasant things. I want to lead off by showing you guys a video that some of my friends in Russia sent me. This is an oil refinery where my friend's father works in the Samara region, and it was attacked by a Ukrainian drone. Actually, probably several drones, because you can always see smoke, and the video just captures. So let's go play it. Video captures the second drone. And so you can hear them shooting at the drone. There's the drone up there flying around. And you can hear it kind of buzzing around. Gunfire and people saying in Russian probably something like, "Crap, shoot it, shoot it." And it's flying along. And flying along. And then boom. So, this happened around the same time as the Moscow terrorist attack. My friend's mom sent me this video on Telegram. And shortly thereafter, the head of the SBU in Ukraine, essentially their equivalent of like the FBI or CIA, admitted that they were responsible for a lot of these attacks deep inside of Russia. Now, Samara is like 1,000 miles away from Ukraine. It's deep inside of Russia. It's just north of the border of Kazakhstan. So it's pretty far in. They obviously didn't fly this thing from Ukraine. They had to sneak it in and then launched it from probably like a mile away or 2 miles away. I don't think these things have super long range. Although that looked like a pretty big drone, so maybe it could have had a longer range. But somebody had to go deep inside of Russia to launch that thing. I know that a lot of foreigners live in Russia. It's a very multicultural country, just like America is. And with the Ukrainians taking, or at least claiming responsibility, maybe it could be bullshit, we don't know. But they say they did it, so, I mean, who am I to argue? And now my friends in Russia are telling me that the Russian government is considering the mass deportation of potentially hostile foreign populations. And this makes sense because the Moscow terrorist attack was committed by essentially foreigners inside of Russia. These drone attacks were probably committed by either Russian dissidents or Ukrainians inside of Russia. There's a lot of Ukrainians who fled to Russia. I've seen them. When I was at the Moscow airport, there were hundreds of Ukrainians leaving Ukraine to come to Russia. So I know that there's a lot of Ukrainians in Russia. And one of the stated plans by, let's call it Western forces or by Ukraine, is to create an insurgency, an Afghanistan-style insurgency or a Northern Ireland-style insurgency inside of Russia to disrupt things. And this is an oil refinery. It makes, strategic sense to take out Russia's energy production capabilities. And so this could be how the war develops. But am I really talking about Russia, or can we apply some of this to the United States? A lot of people are worried about a civil war happening in the United States. We have a large foreign population that has been imported by various means, both legally and illegally, into the United States. And should there be some sort of violent outbreak between the various factions, it's not going to be like the 1850s or 1860s where people just go marching along in nice tight lines shooting at each other. It's going to be through kind of high-tech attacks like this, very insurgency-style attacks. And I'll probably make a second video talking about this. But why is it that we have such a large foreign population being imported into America? A lot of people say, population replacement, racism, that kind of thing. Well, maybe not. I know in the tech industry, we love hiring foreign workers because they're subservient. Americans are difficult to deal with because Americans think for themselves. And whenever you have a large foreign population in a country, like as Russia has, you have potential risk for insurgency-style attacks because not everybody has the same opinions. Not everybody's loyal to that government. Now, I'm not making any claims about whether the Russian government's good or bad. That's aside the point. Most of the Russians seem to like their government, or at least put up with it. And there's people who don't, and they've got their internal problems. But as America starts to tear itself apart with all of this crap that we're having to deal with, all these foreign influences, all these big money and big corporate influences creating social strife in our civilization, and importing all of these foreign populations who are not having time to assimilate and who most certainly don't hold American values. What's going to happen when finally the bonds that hold our country together start to tear apart? Some people say it's going to be a rural versus urban conflict, and that's likely. Or it could be the people who hold American values and the people who just happen to be here, and that's also likely. And those aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. A lot of people are fleeing the cities to more traditional areas, and a lot of people are fleeing traditional areas to the big cities, and so you have kind of this self-segregating system happening within the American population. They say there's 15 million people illegally here in the United States. The number's probably higher. And so as we approach an election that, regardless of who wins, the opposing side won't acknowledge the results. I mean, let's be real. If Biden wins, the Trump supporters aren't going to believe it. They're going to say it was cheated. And if Trump wins, the Biden supporters are going to say it was cheated. Nobody's going to accept this election. And so as we continue to tear ourselves apart, should conflict start in the United States, I think it's going to look something like this, where you're going to have very indirect targeting of key infrastructure. And this is something that we need to prepare ourselves for. And what's going to happen with all these millions of illegals who are in the country that politicians in both parties say that they want to recruit into the army because, let's face it, a lot of Americans don't want to serve a government that they feel doesn't represent them. And I'm not talking about Democrats or Republicans. I'm talking about the whole lot of them. Nobody believes that the American government really represents the people anymore. It represents the special interests. So this is kind of a dark topic, but when my friend's mom sent this to me, I had to think about it for a while. And I really think this is going to be the future of modern warfare. And we see this happening on the battlefield in Ukraine and Russia, where it's not just the front lines anymore. It's not going to be mass bombers flying overhead because missile defense systems and air defense systems can shoot all that down. It's going to be insurgency-style attacks. In this case, I'm told that nobody was injured, but in other cases, you had a lot of death. And in big open societies, and don't misjudge Russia. They've got a relatively open society. You can freely travel. Maybe not the way you can in America, but it's pretty free to travel there. And their borders are huge. They can't secure it, just like we have huge borders that we can't secure. Our borders are small compared to Russia's, just so we choose not to secure it. But even the northern border with Canada is gigantic. So we have a very similar strategic situation, and should conflict occur in America, I think this is what it's going to look like. Anyway, sorry to give you such a dark thought, but this is what I've been thinking about tonight, and I wanted to share it. So I hope everybody appreciates it. I hope this doesn't come to pass, but maybe everybody ought to start preparing themselves for when things start getting weird. And I think that as we approach the autumn, things are going to start getting weird. We'll know more come summertime if we start seeing riots and more unrest, but things are getting weird. Anyway, stay safe, prepare yourselves, and get healthy, get fit. And thanks for watching. If you like this, please like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.